Hey, hello, how are you? So I decided to take a break from decision logic stuff and I decided to play around with Macroquad game engine in Rust. The reason I picked it is I got excited with fish fight game which is made with this engine, and I really wanted to understand how it works. My plan is kinda to re-implement the thing I made with phaser.js in JavaScript. Sorry for the bad quality. So I have some sort of character which is able to run around. So at least now I have set up a basic project where I imported the Macroquad and Macroquad platformer and Macroquad tiled packages, and I literally copied Macroquad's example. Where is it? Macroquad's example for a platformer. Where is it? Platformer. So the entire code they have in here to load a tile map. Yeah, I took it and copied over here, and it works. So if I run it, so for initial installation of the Macroquad thing, it took like 20 seconds for me, and now it builds very, very fast. As for the weird thing over here, I wanted to know for sure how the animation is done in the engine, because like you can see in here, the characters are able to run around. And I actually went ahead and went into the source code of their game. And they have inside source nodes player file an animated sprite, experimental stuff. And I scavenged the animation initialization code from them. They use the core functionality of in that game. They use the core functionality of animated sprite in there. So I took. So what did I do? I decided to reuse the tile map asset that they provided. I copied it over to my thing. I named the animation as a slime, and here's the problem I see already. So in the animation struct they use rows and the amount of columns and FPS. So this means that when they have an image, they would search for a row from pixel y like a 0. If it was a row 1, they would start at so if this is like, for example, one portion is 20 pixels, the tile size, then the row 1 would be 20 pixels below, a row 2 would be more pixels below, and the amount of frames would just span across the columns by column width. So this is fine, but in my thing that I had that I showed, this was exported with the texture pack, and I cannot operate with with columns inside the row, and unfortunately they don't really have the possibility to load the configuration of texture packer, and this configuration is not that complicated, and I guess I will create a simple struct and generate stuff from it. As for this animation here, the slime, I called it the slime. So I'm able to call update and then just draw tile sets texture with some parameters of the current frames that the current system has, with the destination size, and yeah, I experimented with rotating the sprite just in case I would need that in the future, and so it was kind of skewed to the side, and now it just plays like that. So it's playing some first row I defined with the size. So that this is actually good. This is enough for me to start playing around. So like always, I will create a basic struct to hold all this nonsense. So let me define a struct to read the configuration of the frames that I would need for my animations to take from a more complicated texture like this. So yeah, basically I'm going to make a simple parser of texture packer format, which they don't have in Macroquad, but Macroquad feels just feels raw and powerful. So what do I need? I need an enum, and enum is going to be called texture packer. It would have a textures vector of something. So I need a struct, I guess. Yeah. So I need a struct. Why is it? Oh yeah, I need to define it. Yeah. So I'm going to build just textures, like portion of that, and at least try and extract some portion of an image. So I need to have, yeah, let's have another enum. I'm gonna call it TP texture packer texture. Or no, wait, it's supposed to be a struct. Struct TP texture, and it would hold an image, which is a struct string. It's a string. Then format, I'm not sure if I will use it. This size is a so TP struct TP size. Come on. It's V for, I guess these are I32 and H is I32. The size will be a TP size. Scale is 1. I'm not sure if I will use it. And frames. I would need frames. It would be, oh yeah, so I could already use this here. Expected a comma. Where? Here? Oh, okay. Frames, so TP frame, struct. So it has file name, has string, trimmed. I guess I would need to have a frame in here. Frames, file name. I will sequentially add this later. And another subframe. Oh man. It would be TP frame, subframe. Let's just call everything TP frame, like sub frame. I don't really care about the naming at this point. X, Y, W, H. All right, subframe. So this frame will be this. So apparently, yes. So the frames should be a vector of TP frame. Why is this? Oh yeah, yeah. Let's have it as struct. All right. So camel case. All right. So quick fix. Rename. Quick fix. Rename. Quick fix. Rename. All right. So this is done. Now, in order to actually, make these serializable, so yeah, the best code is, that you could have is the code you could reuse. And in my JSON logic, I have built myself quite a lot of expertise to, is it the right one? No. Decision engines, MD logic. I've built myself quite a library of the stuff that I have used already. So let me add serializable stuff. So I would need Serde and everything that I could have possibly as serializable, so I do need Serde. So again, the best reusable logic you could have is the logic that you can copy paste. So TP size needs to be deserializable, and I guess this should be deserialized, deserialized, and deserialized, and deserialized. Bam. All right. So that's that. Let me quickly cargo run it. At least Visual Studio Code wasn't arguing that. Yeah, so it's still building. Now I need something to deserialize from, and I need to read the file. And somewhere in the same project, I was already reading a file from a local folder. So yeah. So I need to use stdfs for file system. All right, stdfs, and I need to read the contents of file. So right inside main and outside the main loop, I will read the file from assets slimg JSON. So I use that. Actually, let me read that again and see if, yeah, it still compiles. It didn't fail at reading that. And if the configuration is failed to read, then what's the point of running the entire application now? All right, so this is that. And so I've got my string, and I should be able to read from data. So I've got my file contents, this configuration over here, bam, and not all combined, but I want to have texture packer. So I want to serialize that into texture packer and contents. Consider borrowing, so okay, I will borrow it, and I will expect an error. An error of failed to unpack texture packer. So, all right. Texture packer. Is it still compiling now? Still compiling and running. So now I want to read another texture. So the texture I would need a slime texture, load texture assets, slime G, JSON. Not JSON, PNG, yes. So I've got my slime texture, cargo run, still run it. Slime texture is here. Now, of course, let's hold the horses for now, because this is not usable for me at this moment. This experiment with animated sprite, and so this is not supposed to be here. So let's draw a texture, draw texture X. The texture is going to be slime texture. Or how did I call it? Slime texture, yes. Let me actually close that. X, so 100 and 100 was fine previously with the test I had. Color, I'm not sure why they want to have a color, but let's have a white. Draw texture params. Draw texture params, uncomment. Source rect. So this should be some rectangle. And vector 2. Oh, this should be a floating point. So this again is supposed to be a rectangle. Um, all right, so to use this math, all right, cool. So the X should be, where's my config? So it was TP. Yeah, texture packer. Textures. I'm going to use the first one. Frames. Also first one. Another frame. X. So this is already quite mouthful. So I am going to extract those. So what was the syntax for extracting like this deep thing? So let me remember that. Let the frame was actually I'm not going to concentrate sorry on making this very pretty. So this is going to be Y. I want it to run, you see. So this was width, and H is going to be H. So this ate it, and destination size was something of, oh wait, why is this F32? Alright, so I can convert it. I don't care. Alright. Now this wants to have a vector of 2. And it's missing fields. Whoa. Let's go to the definition of that. The hell is this? How do I use that? Alright, so apparently the size, let's imagine I pass in this. Nope. Destination is option of vector 2, and vector 2 is supposed to be a two-dimensional vector x, y. The hell is this? Okay, x and y. Alright. So the x is this, and y is this. Darn it. Try surrounding. Oh. Maybe I didn't instantiate that correctly. Macroquad tuple struct what? Use the appropriate syntax. Math2 is a tuple struct. I wonder if it imported the vec2 already. Player speed vec2, how do they define speed? Player speed, oh okay. Vector, oh, and it returns. All right. So this should be a tuple without this and this and this and with a parent. All right, so this ate it. I wonder if it will crash. Bam. Oh my lord. So I was able to read my texture packer, but apparently the size is way too large. The size is way too large. Well, mainly because the original textures are that big. The texture is that big. It's like 200 pixels, 250 something. So obviously I shouldn't show it 250 by 250. It's probably supposed to be so in this example that they have in the platformer, the player is, I think, 8 pixels high. Where is the play? So this is the player tiled renderer, and they display it as 8 by 8 pixels. So my character I drew just now is supposed to be 8 by 8. Oh, floats. It's supposed to be a float. All right. If I run it again, there we go. It's over there. So I was able to read my small configuration and display it on the screen. This entire project uses 89 megabytes at this point and only 15% of my CPU, so it's not actually that much. So there we go. Quick reading of texture packer's frame. Of course, the code is not so safe in here, but at least we've got something showing on the screen, and I believe in my next iteration or session I would need to align the animated sprite they have, or maybe I will need to copy paste the entire file and just provide frames of rectangles that I want to show, like literally provide frames from texture packers that I want to show. I mean, this entire file is only 90 lines of code, and I don't think it's going to be that hard to copy paste and modify it to my needs. So with that, I hope you liked this session, and see you next time.